is a graduate of Barnard College, earned her PhD in social and developmental psychology from Yale. She then has been a professor and has taught at Columbia University, Harvard University, the University of Illinois, and since 2004 she's joined us out here on the West Coast. Has been at Stanford University, where she's the Lewis and Virginia Eaton Professor of Psychology. Dr. Dweck's work in the field of developmental, social, and personality psychology has earned her many awards and honors, and her 2006 book, looks like this, titled Mindset, A New Psychology of Success, has played a key role in advancing the field of social psychology and various theories on intelligence. Interesting enough, the British version of this book picked up on the lower part of this subtitle, How Can We Learn to Fulfill Our Various Potentials, which is a key thing, I think, for all of us as educators, clearly for ourselves personally, but also for our students. If you didn't get a copy of this book, there were a limited number earlier. Carol was signing these out in the foyer. You can still order one of these from the OregonForRatings.org website. So I encourage you to go to that site and pick a book up if you'd like. Well, all the ones that she signed, unfortunately. Those that got here early got a chance to do that. But she's going to be talking about this various topic, fulfilling our potential and using our brain to do so. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Carol Dweck.
Thank you, David, for that lovely introduction. It's a great pleasure to be in Portland, one of my favorite cities. And I really enjoyed meeting so many of you a few minutes ago. I'd like to start with my favorite quote from Benjamin Barber, an eminent political scientist. He says, "I don't divide the world into the weak and the strong, or the successes and the failures. I divide the world into the learners and the non-learners." Why would anyone become a non-learner? We're born with such an irrepressible, exuberant desire to learn. You never see an unmotivated baby. No, it looks wrong. Instead, you see babies being infinitely curious and addressing the most difficult task of a lifetime with tremendous gusto. And yet, a lot of the things we do when we try to help and motivate our students are turning them into non-learners. When we put too much emphasis on high-stakes testing, getting into the one right school, being gifted, having a talent, we create students who feel they have to be infallible, they have to perform, and this is an enemy of learning. So how do we make sure that our students remain learners? That's what my work is about, and that's what I want to share with you today. In my work, we find that students can have different mindsets about their intelligence, talents, and abilities. In a fixed mindset, students believe that their intelligence is just a fixed trait. You have a certain amount, and that's it. As you'll see, this is the mindset that turns students into non-learners because they're so worried about how much they have or don't have that learning takes a back seat. But other students believe that their intelligence can be developed through their hard work, good strategies, good instruction from others, help from others. They don't necessarily think everyone's the same or anyone can be Einstein, but they understand that even Einstein wasn't the guy he became before he put in years and years and years of dedicated labor. So in a growth mindset, talent, ability, it's just a starting point from which to grow. Here are questions I'm always asked. Well, maybe it's good to have a growth mindset, but which mindset is correct? What's the right answer? And what's so exciting is that neuroscientists psychologists are showing us on a continual basis the tremendous plasticity of the brain, its ability to grow and change, and even transform with learning and experience throughout much of life. Cognitive psychologists are isolating the components of intelligence and figuring out how to teach it. So this is a really exciting time. And I think you'll be interested to know that Alfred Binet, the inventor of the IQ test, had a radical growth mindset. He believed the most fundamental capacity to learn could be transformed through education. And that's what his career was about. So why'd he cook up this test? He was trying to identify kids in the Paris public schools who were not profiting from their curriculum, so he could create a new curriculum for them and get them back on track. He went bananas when Americans started using his test to say we were measuring intelligence, and even worse, to say we were measuring fixed intelligence, but he could not stop us. And confession time, some of the worst culprits were at my university, Stanford. My life's mission is to undo their mischief. Do students hold the same mindsets in different areas? I should say our life's mission is to undo their mischief. I stand corrected. Do students hold the mindsets in same mindset in different areas? No. Someone can have a growth mindset about athletic ability, but a fixed mindset about intellectual ability, or even within intellectual ability. Many students might think language abilities, verbal abilities, those can be developed, but math, ooh, that's fixed. So the mindset a student has in a given area is going to have a profound effect on their motivation in that area. Can mindsets be changed? Yes. Stay tuned. How do these mindsets work? They work by creating a whole psychological world for students where everything has a different meaning. And I'd like to take you through that world now, those two worlds, in terms of 3 mindset rules. So if you're ready, here we go. In a fixed mindset, because it's fixed, the cardinal rule is look smart at all times and at all costs, and maybe even more important, never look dumb. Many students have as their only goal in school, never look dumb. And you can never look dumb if you don't do anything. But in a growth mindset, because abilities can be developed, the cardinal rule is learn at all times and at all costs. We saw this in a study we were doing of hundreds of students making that really difficult transition to 7th grade. When the work gets harder, the grading gets more stringent, a lot of students stumble at that point and turn off to school. We wanted to see if their mindsets made a difference across this transition. So we measured their mindsets at the beginning of 7th grade. That is, we saw, did they believe intelligence was fixed? Or did they believe it was something that everyone could develop? We also measured whether they cared more about looking smart or about learning. And we monitored their grades over the next 2 years, especially in math. And let's see what we found. The 2 groups, those with the fixed and growth mindset, had entered 7th grade with pretty much identical past achievement test scores in math. But when they hit this challenging period Their grades in math jumped apart by the end of the first semester and continued to diverge over the next 2 years. The only thing that differed were their mindsets and their emphasis on look smart, don't look dumb versus learning. And this started us on a theme of understanding that grades and test scores are a natural byproduct of engaging in an effective learning process. So more than caring about looking smart and getting grades, caring about learning is what gets you these grades as a byproduct. And to look further into it, we ask ourselves, who cares about grades more than anyone on earth? We decided to study pre-med students at an Ivy League university on the East Coast. You know, they lived for this moment, their parents lived for this moment. And still, those who had a growth mindset said they cared even more about learning than they did about grades. They cared about grades. This was the gateway to the pre-med curriculum, organic chemistry. But they cared even more about learning. And let's see what happened here. Because of their emphasis on learning, those with a growth mindset actually earned significantly higher final grades in their organic chemistry course than those with the fixed mindset. How'd they do that? First of all, their emphasis on learning led them to study more deeply, to understand the concepts that linked everything together. That allowed them to do better. But if they didn't do well on the first exam or two in the course, and many of them didn't, they were new to college, they were new to college-level courses. Those with a growth mindset did everything in their power to recover. They met with the teaching assistant to go over the test. They formed study groups. They found older students who had done well in the course to tutor them. They went to all the review sessions, and they studied all the harder. As a group, they did recover from that initial setback. But those with a fixed mindset did not. They thought, well, my ability should take me there. And when it didn't, they were disappointed. And they studied again in the same way, but they didn't do everything in their power to recover because a fixed mindset puts everything into ability or natural talent. But guess what? Ability itself doesn't have a motor. It can't take you where you want to go. And so when they stumbled, they did not recover as a group. And this brings us to mindset number 2, which is about the motor of success. It's about the effort. In a fixed mindset, effort is a bad thing. They believe that if you're smart, things should come naturally. And that if you have to work at it, it means you're not good at it. They subscribe to Homer Simpson's motto, trying is the first step toward failure. But in a growth mindset, effort is a good thing. It's what ignites your ability, allows you to use it to the fullest, and allows you to grow your ability over time. Those with a fixed mindset believe that things come easily to people who are true geniuses. But those in a growth mindset understand that even geniuses have to work hard for their great discoveries. And modern research in psychology is showing that that's true, that geniuses are often the people who have worked much harder than their equally talented peers. They're the ones who bring their abilities to fruition. I believe that the fixed mindset belief that if you have abilities, you don't need effort is one of the worst beliefs anyone can have. Everything in life requires a lot of effort. Everything worthwhile requires a lot of effort over long periods of time. And if effort makes you feel dumb, that's a severe handicap. Many students who do well initially, who have what looks like natural talent, end up having that be a liability. They coast. Everyone says how smart they are. They equate being smart with not having to work like the other kids. And someday they do have to work hard and they don't know how to do it. Many of them retire at that point rather than work hard and feel bad. Not long ago, I spoke to the top athletes in another country, and they told me that not one of them had been number one as a teenager. The number one coasted on their natural talent and then fizzled out. The ones I was talking to, the ones who were going to the Olympics and the World Championship, they had been number 4 or 8 or 16. They knew they had to do something special to get to the top, and they did. And that brings us to rule number 3. In the face of setbacks, in a fixed mindset, a setback is about you. It tells you you're not good at this. If you were good at this, you wouldn't be making mistakes or failing. And because it reflects on that fixed ability, those in a fixed mindset hide their mistakes or conceal their deficiencies. But in a growth mindset, it's a natural part of learning. So capitalize on it, address it, change it. We saw this writ large in our study of those hundreds of 7th graders because we asked them what they would do following a poor score on the first test in a new course. And here's what they told us. In a fixed mindset, they said, I'd spend less time on the subject from now on, and I would try to cheat on the next test. Think about it. The bad grade meant I'm not good at this, even though it was the first test in a new course. And they don't like effort. They don't believe in it. So cheating becomes more attractive. But in a growth mindset, they say, I'd work harder, where they have many strategies. I'd work harder. I'd study more for the next test. Do you want to see how this looks in the brain? Let's do it. On the right, so this is a task where the researchers had students work on a task where they periodically made errors. And they recorded the electrical potential from the relevant parts of the brain as students worked on this task and made errors. On the right, you see growth mindset students making the error, processing it deeply, and correcting it. So that's all that red hot activity. What do you see on the left? Almost nothing. That's the fixed mindset student. They make an error and they run from it as quickly as possible. They're not processing it, they're not correcting it. The good news is that when students are taught a growth mindset, they start looking like that. So it's not an inherent property of these brains. It's the willingness or eagerness to delve into that error, explore it fully, and correct it. Let's recap. In a fixed mindset, the rules are never look dumb, don't work hard because you'll feel dumb, and run from difficulty because it means you're dumb. But in a growth mindset, the rules are learn, work hard to learn, and learn from your mistakes. You can see why a growth mindset would breed greater motivation and achievement over time. Where do these mindsets come from? We've studied this in many ways, but maybe the most important way we've studied it is through the praise that adults give to kids. We undertook this work at the height of the self-esteem movement when the gurus were telling parents and teachers to tell kids how brilliant they are at every opportunity, and this was supposed to give them self-esteem and set them on the royal road to success. And our work shows just the opposite. In over 15 years of research, we have found that praising intelligence harms kids. It backfires. It makes them so concerned with how smart they are that learning takes a back seat. I should mention, I'm going to go into some of our studies in a minute, but I wanted to mention a study we just published showing that mothers' praise to their babies, 1 to 3 years of age, predicted the child's mindset and desire for challenge 5 years later. And that this mindset 5 years later went on to predict their school achievement. So now I feel entitled to interfere in airports when I see mothers telling their babies how brilliant they are. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about a set of studies we did with pre-adolescents. We did this study over 6 times because this was our first praise study, and we wanted to make sure, is this real? Are we really getting something reliable? And we were. We brought kids one at a time into a room in their school. We gave them about 10 problems from a nonverbal IQ test, matched to their grade level. And when they finished, we scored the problems and gave them one form of feedback. A third of the kids got intelligence praise. Wow, that's a really good score. You must be smart at this. A third got process praise. Now, process praise is about their strategy, their focus, their perseverance, their effort, their improvement. Something about the process they've engaged in. Here we said, wow, that's a really good score. You must have tried really hard. And a third group, we just told, wow, that's a really good score. I won't talk about them much. They tended to be in the middle. Not as good as process praise, but not as bad as intelligence praise. What happened? First, yes, indeed, praising intelligence put kids into more of a fixed mindset. It told them, hey, you just have it. Whereas praising the process put them into more of a growth mindset, conveying to them that their performance, their acquisition of those skills was due to the process. But the most astonishing thing to us was that the intelligence praise instantly made kids into non-learners. After we praised them, we gave them a choice. Hey, what do you want to work on now? Something that's hard and new. You might make mistakes or get confused, but you'll learn something important. Or something you're already good at, so you're sure to do well. The majority of the kids praised for their intelligence wanted the safe, sure task. We like to say they didn't want to risk their newly minted gifted label. But those praised for the process overwhelmingly chose the hard tasks they could learn from. In a couple of the studies, over 90% of them wanted to do this hard task. Nothing was at risk. Their egos weren't on the line. Later, we gave everyone a really hard set of problems. And here's what happened. Those praised for their intelligence lost their confidence, because if success meant they were smart, struggle meant they weren't. They stopped enjoying the task, and later, even when we returned to the easier problems, their performance had gotten worse. Praising their intelligence made them dumber. But those praised for their process remained engaged and confident. They saw the problems were harder. They knew they just had to work at them. And they did, so that when we returned to the easier problems, their performance was actually significantly better than it had been before. Talked about praising effort. What else should we praise? More than effort, struggle. Not long ago, someone from another country said to me, "In your culture, struggle is a bad word." I said, "You're right. Rarely do you come home at the end of the day and say, 'Honey, I've had a fabulous struggle.'" Usually you're crawling in the door, maybe in need of some form of libation. But why isn't struggle a great word? It's a great word. Why don't we sit around the dinner table, go around the classroom? Who had a great struggle today? Who's having a great struggle? What are you going to struggle with next? That should be part of the way we talk. I worked with some people at Google, which was the bastion of genius, and they started talking struggle and felt liberated by it. This group felt they became more innovative, creative, by being able to be proud of struggling with something. And as you'll see, what I'm getting at is a change in our value system that we convey to kids. The idea that struggle is something that we admire and easy is something we do not. Persistence in the face of setbacks, really, really important, but not just efforty kinds of things. The strategies kids use, the choices they make as they work on something. And not just praise, appreciation or encouragement of the process they're engaging in. It doesn't have to take the form of praise itself. Choosing difficult tasks, very, very important. And all in the context of the ultimate values of learning and improving. Not a test score, not an outcome. The ultimate value is learning and improving. Okay, so let's take a few zany examples just to drive home the point of a new value system. Yesterday, before you knew some of this, you might have said to a child, "Oh, look, you got an A without really working. You were really good at math." But do you hear the bad message? The child hears it. The child hears, "If I had to work at it, you wouldn't think I was good at it." Or, "You did that so quickly and easily. That's impressive." Why is it impressive? Obviously, they already knew how to do it. But the child also hears this bad message. If I didn't do it quickly or easily, you would not be impressed. So what should we say? You got an A without working. An A is nice, but oh, you must not be learning much. My condolences. And a child should feel cheated if he or she did not learn, did not have to work or master new things to get this A. You did that so quickly and easily. Oh, I'm sorry I wasted your time. Let's do something you can learn from. Get the message? Easy is boring. It's a waste of time. Hard. That's interesting and worthwhile. And that is the value system we want to put out to kids so that they relish challenge. They know that difficulty is something that's going to benefit them. One of my graduate students taught this to his little girl, and they were climbing up a mountain on a hot day recently, and it slipped out of his mouth. Let's take the easy way back. And she said, no, Daddy, no, we can't do the easy one. Be careful what you wish for. Here's another way of conveying a growth mindset. We just finished a study with the Khan Academy, the online learning group. We had over 250,000 participants in the study, and they were all learning a unit on fractions. At the beginning of each fraction problem in that unit, some of the kids got sentences of encouragement. Some of the encouragement, as I'll show you in a minute, was growth mindset encouragement. And some of it was kind of exhortation to effort. Now, we did this because a lot of people interpret or misinterpret growth mindset as just telling kids to try hard. I call that nagging. If it's not in a growth mindset framework, kids don't like it. They think, oh, you're telling me I have to try hard. I'm not good at it. Or, it's what adults say. So we pitted kind of exhortations to effort. Now, effort is a value within a growth mindset, but exhorting kids to try hard is not conveying the growth mindset in its full glory. So let's look at what those statements look like. Some of the kids got none of these header comments, the usual Khan Academy things. Some of them got these general encouragements. Some of these problems are hard, do your best. If at first you don't succeed, try again. But some of the kids got growth mindset statements. Remember, the more you practice, the smarter you become. It's about getting smarter. When you learn a new kind of math problem, you grow your math brain. And here's what happened. Well, here's what it looks like. Remember, the more you practice, the smarter you become. The regular exhortations to effort had no impact compared to nothing. But learning about practice making you smarter and hard problems growing your brain, there were 10 statements that they rotated through in each case, led them to solve significantly more problems in that unit. But it didn't end there. The kids who got those growth mindset statements initiated more subsequent units in math. And they did better on those too, even though there were no more statements. So they learned a growth mindset approach to these math problems that made them eager for more math and led them to perform more effectively on those units. And here's my favorite new word. I have fallen in love with the word yet. I learned of a high school in Chicago where the students had to pass 84 units to graduate. And if they didn't master a unit, they got the grade not yet. And I thought, isn't that gorgeous? Because if you get the grade not yet, it means, hey, there's a learning curve and you're on it. Maybe you're not at the finish line, but you're somewhere on that learning curve. Whereas if you get a failing grade, you think, I'm nowhere, I'm no good at this. And the students unabashedly talked about it to each other. How many not yets do you have? So we undertook research on this beautiful word, yes. And we're finding that when students are told not yet after a wrong answer, rather than wrong, or even rather than try again, they persist longer and do better. So, if you hear a student saying, I'm not a math person yet, I'm not good at this yet, I can't do X yet, I tried but it didn't work yet, it's like, get back on that learning curve. And it puts the whole thing into a growth mindset context. And it also conveys to the child, I know you can get there. You need different strategies or more effort, or I need to work with you. But you're getting there eventually. And another thing educators can do is teach a growth mindset. And I know many of you I talk to are doing just that. Once we saw that a growth mindset had so many benefits, we wondered, could we teach a growth mindset directly? And would that help students do better in school? So, let me just tell you about the very first study we did along these lines. In this study, we took 7th graders many of whom were already showing declining grades in math, especially in math. And we divided them into 2 groups. One group learned great study skills, ones that the teacher said they'd really need that year. But the other group learned growth mindset with the study skills. In that group, they read this article, You Can Grow Your Intelligence. New research shows the brain can be developed like a muscle. And what they learned was that every time they stretched out of their comfort zone to learn new things, there were these neurons in their brain that formed new or stronger connections. Every time they stretched out of their comfort zone to learn something new and difficult, their brain formed new connections, and over time, they could get smarter. The kids were thrilled by this idea, and they put it into practice. When we looked at the end of the year, that red line were the students who just learned the study skills. They weren't necessarily motivated to put them into practice, and they continued to show declining grades. But the students who had learned the growth mindset with the skills showed a sharp rebound in their grades. We have found that when students go through a growth mindset training, it transforms for them the meaning of effort and difficulty. In a fixed mindset, students tell us effort, difficulty, That's when they feel dumb. But in a growth mindset, they tell us, that's when they know they're getting smarter. Can you feel that at a visceral level? And effort and difficulty, that's when we are learning. And that's when they feel smarter. I brought this quote recently. A student who had gone through our Brainology program, which is kind of an online growth mindset program, said, probability. She was learning probability. I was just like, I don't get this at all. But I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this. I want to do it because it's so hard. Is it ever too late? Do you know that sometimes we go to high schools where we want to do our growth mindset interventions, and educators say, don't bother, it's too late for these kids. Go help younger kids. So recently, we undertook a study with 13 high schools around the country. And we were particularly interested in whether the lowest achievers, the bottom third of the students in these 13 high schools, would respond to a growth mindset intervention, which we sent in online to the 13 high schools. The students went to the computer lab for several sessions and learned about growth mindset, how to apply it to their schoolwork. And what we found was this. These were the bottom third of the students. The mindset group within 3 months was showing a higher GPA than students in the control group. The students, were also the low-performing students. They were just randomly assigned to get growth mindset or not. They were failing more courses than they had previously, and they were passing significantly more courses than they had previously. It was like turning a switch. We're also working at community colleges. I mention this because this is the gateway to higher education for so many underserved minorities and immigrants. And yet, many kids never graduate from community college and go on to four-year colleges. We are working with a community college system in Indiana. Do you know what percentage of kids graduate? 9. And so we wondered if students learned more of a growth mindset, would that help them thrive in school? And we found yes. Those who learned growth mindset about their academic abilities did significantly better. But we also focused on kids who were taking remedial math, developmental math. We like to say, or we say, that's where a community college student goes to die. Most of them never get out of remedial math, and you can't get a certificate or move on without it. And what we found was that after going through a growth mindset program, it cut the dropout rate in half from the remedial math. It's not that everyone who stayed in passed, but it cut the dropout rate in half. I also want to say that a growth mindset is particularly important for students laboring under a negative stereotype, girls in math and science, other minorities in various subjects, or underserved minority students in other subjects. Think about it. A stereotype is a fixed mindset belief. It says it's fixed and your group doesn't have In our very recent work and work from other labs, we're showing that when students have more of a growth mindset, those stereotypes don't bring them down, don't tell them they don't belong, allow them to keep thriving. Because if you think, hey, it's a learned set of skills, maybe we didn't do well historically because people were conveying the stereotype, they didn't encourage us, they didn't support us. So over and over we're seeing a growth mindset is particularly beneficial for students who are laboring under negative stereotypes. Recently, a researcher named Stephanie Freiberg went back to the Native American reservation she grew up on, which is in the Seattle area, and she did a growth mindset intervention with the whole school, the whole elementary school, and the parents. The kids were told they're spending 6 hours a day growing their brain. When they participated in class, the teacher said, "Thank you for helping us grow our brains." The parents learned how to give growth mindset praise and encouragement. And within a year and a half, this school that had traditionally been at the bottom of the stage went to near the top of the district, and the district included affluent portions of Seattle. The kindergartners and first graders were the ones who led the district, the ones who had grown up on growth mindset. The third through fifth graders, many of them were making a year and a half to 2 years of progress per year. But most important, they now understood that Native children had unlimited potential. So to sum up, students need a growth mindset to choose learning over looking smart, to prefer high effort over low effort, and to be resilient, to profit from their mistakes and setbacks. But we as educators also need a growth mindset. I'll let the pages turn. We as educators also need a growth mindset to help our kids fulfill their potential, but also to help us fulfill our potential as educators, to help us approach every single student with this thought. Every student has something to teach me. Every student can help me grow as an educator. And I want to leave you with this final thought. The more we learn through research that fundamental abilities can be grown, the more it becomes a basic human right for every student to be in an environment that helps them grow those abilities, that insists on helping them fulfill their potential. Thank you.